What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my final free hit draft for the upcoming Double Game Week 34. Now before you guys kick off the video, don't worry, if you guys are not on the free hit, this video is going to still be relevant. For example, if I choose a player on my free hit draft, you guys might want to bring them in on those free transfers. Now, the reason I'm actually going to drop this Friday release of the final team edition is the fact that we've had so much press conference news, so I want to update you guys on the team news as well. So this video is going to kind of be a free hit draft, but as well as the talking points arising from those press conferences, so super valuable in my opinion. So if that's something you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. Now obviously, as mentioned, a ton of press conference news has come out of this Friday morning and afternoon. The various teams have had updates, and the biggest one is probably relating to the Wolves side for free hit on Game Week 34. So if you guys didn't see, Cunha, the striker for Wolves, is apparently going to be missing, and therefore I probably won't suggest picking him on that free hit draft, but also Aït-Nouri might not even make the bench for the Arsenal game. Now for me, that's classic don't buy, don't sell territory. The first game is against Arsenal at home anyways, that's probably the one that you want to avoid. And if he is fine for the Bournemouth at home game, then you probably want to have him in your team. So what I would do is I probably would just play him. I can't see him featuring if he's going to be injured for both games, and therefore him missing the first game might not actually be that bad. The reason for that is that Wolves might have to play some younger options as they are faced with quite a few injuries for Double Game Week 34. So in turn, what does that mean? Obviously Arsenal do play them in the first game, they could go on an absolute storm, and they might actually lock in their clean sheet if someone like Cunha's missing as their main striker. So the Wolves news was obviously going to be big if you guys had Cunha on your free hit. Might kind of shake up your Arsenal decisions if you guys want to go there, but I already had a triple up anyways. Now the other big news about Erling Haaland for you guys that aren't on the free hit for 34, Pep simply said we will see when he was asked about his injury, but if you guys haven't seen the schedule, they do play in the FA Cup this weekend, and therefore even if Erling Haaland's missing the weekend, he'll be fine for later in the week when they play their Game Week 34 fixture. So I would simply play him. I don't think I would sell him if you guys want to do that, even if you're wildcarding in Game Week 35. Now the other big news was obviously going to be the Liverpool game last night, but I won't lie to you guys, not many concrete insights can be kind of taken from that game. All we know is that Liverpool played a pretty strong lineup to start off the fixture, and the main options were subbed around the 60-minute mark. Other big news is that Darwin Núñez was kind of rested or dropped depending on what your kind of narrative is. I would probably say he was dropped because the lineup looked pretty strong, and overall Gakpo didn't have the worst game in the world. So does that mean that Darwin Núñez will now be dropped for the upcoming fixtures, or will he be rested? Or since he was benched, will he actually start both games? That's why I'm saying to you guys, I honestly don't actually know if there's any concrete insights that came out of that game, as Jota vs Darwin vs Diaz is a 30-30 debate that I'm not ready to have. What I would recommend is just simply choose whoever you think will score the most points or get the most minutes. Even if your option's benched, Liverpool score a ton of goals in the last 20 minutes, so having the bench option might actually be the better situation. Then moving on to the defense, we had Trent and Robbo both starting the game. Trent came off as well as Robbo on the 70-minute mark. But then Klopp came out and said after the game that Trent actually starting this game was insane. So that doesn't fill me with the most confidence in the world of Trent's two potential starts. And now that Robbo's played so many minutes over the past few games, I'm actually worried about his rotation as well. So what could we kind of tell from Liverpool? I guess the only thing we could tell is they were knocked out of the Europa competition, therefore the Prem is the only competition they are involved in. And that's why I think Klopp will put out a pretty strong lineup every single game week from now to the end of the season. Now does that mean that Trent starts every game, or does Gomez take a few right back slots? I guess it might be a wait and see, and that's why it might be better to go conservative on your free hits. Now the other big injury news is that Lerma will be missing till Game Week 36 for Crystal Palace. If you guys don't know, he's been playing as a centre back in that back three, so that might actually change the defensive formation of Crystal Palace to a back four. Him being out though is also a massive kind of loss for that defense, and we'll go over that as I select my team. That was kind of the main news dropping from the press conferences today, but if you guys do want to update on any player or team, drop in the comments down below or my Discord server and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. But as I go through my free hit team, I'll also be addressing kind of the situations and the talking points relating to those players and those teams, so let's get straight into it. So let's start off with the bench, and with those Wolves assets missing out, I've therefore dropped them from my bench. So Aït-Nouri's become Kilman and Cunha's become McBurney. So we spoke about McBurney in my earlier draft or my first draft. Do still like him as an option, but he can be quite fiery, and therefore a red card could always happen. It's just the fact that I prefer the other options in my starting 11 to McBurney, but I'm perfectly fine having him first on my bench. Then Neto, I actually like the Bournemouth games quite a lot. He's my sub goalkeeper. Kilman, as I said, as a replacement for Aït-Nouri. And then finally Senese as my third bench option. Now you guys know in terms of the Arsenal double-ups, I prefer the defensive one, even prefer that more now that Wolves have all those injuries. But there has been a change. I've upgraded Saliba to Ben White. Now I say upgraded, fingers crossed that is an upgrade and there's more attacking threat there, but I do worry slightly about some rotation in that defensive department. I do feel like on paper though, if you're going to pick two Arsenal defenders, it's White and Gabriel, so that's where I'm going to go. Then in terms of my attacker, it's going to be Saka. I've seen Havertz, yes his attacking numbers are better, but Saka's more reliable. And his effective ownership is going to be crazy high for Game Week 34. I think if you guys do want to go different, Havertz is a perfectly fine replacement, and I guess if you're not going to captain Saka, you might actually hope that he blanks anyways. Now the next team, Liverpool, I'm going to start off with Mo Salah. That's a no-brainer. I've got the Campsey armband on him. This hasn't changed since my first draft. And I think come that Game Week 34 deadline, it's still going to be on him. The fact that he was rested or came off on the 60-minute mark tells me that he's going to be fine for both these games. And even though Liverpool aren't playing well at the moment and neither is Mo Salah, I'm still willing to go there. Now I mentioned being more conservative with my kind of defensive pick, and that's why Virgil has replaced Trent and Robbo as my selection. I just want starts in this double game week, and I'm worried about both fullbacks. Now 100%, if we got news that Trent and Robbo started both games, I would definitely go for one of them, as they have the attacking upside. But I just can't tell you that either of them will start both games, and therefore Virgil's the replacement. Loves a double game week though. I owned him for previous game week 25. Fingers crossed to get another kind of bullet header. Another mainstay in my team is going to be Eze. I think you guys have to go from people even captaining him for game week 34. I don't love him that much, but I still think he's an absolute baller. So he's been in most of my drafts, the same with Dom Solanke. I think as a striker, there's not many strikers this week that I want to look at, but Dom Solanke is definitely one of them. Has two good fixtures. Actually think these might be underrated. Aston Villa coming off that kind of 120 minutes in the Conference League. Surely Bournemouth can actually score against them. Then we've already spoken about Wolves, a team that was conceding goals anyways. Now with more injuries, maybe Dom Solanke can do even better. Kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. Now there are a few spots that I wouldn't say are nailed, but are looking a little bit more nailed than they were a few days ago, and the one player is actually Mateta from Crystal Palace. Now we spoke about the fact that Lerma might be missing out on, and therefore the attack of Crystal Palace might be better than the defense, but in terms of chances conceded from their opponents, West Ham and Newcastle have both conceded a ton of chances to strikers. So I'm going to be going for him, even though there might be some rotation with an Edouard for example, but I do think Mateta is first choice, and the fact that there's a lot of strikers to actually go for with Cunha injured, he's almost a no-brainer. Now the only thing that might have kind of changed him would have been Darwin. If I was confident that Darwin started both games, I'd probably go for him over Mateta as my third Liverpool option. Now another player surprisingly from Sheffield United is going to be Diaz in the midfield department. I know it's crazy having a Sheffield United attacker, their attack isn't that great, but neither is the defense of Burnley and United. You guys would have seen this in the Ultimate Guide that their fixtures are actually underrated at the moment, and on current form, they actually haven't been that terrible. So yes, a little bit of an outside punt there, and that's why not necessarily kind of locked into my team, but I do like him as a differential. Now the last two positions are really where my head is kind of spinning. You guys will notice though, if you look at the teams, I haven't completed my Liverpool triple up, neither my Crystal Palace one, and therefore those teams will make up these two places. Now the first situation is going to be going for Henderson in the goalkeeper department, as even though Crystal Palace defensively without Lerma might be vulnerable, I still back Henderson to get some saves. Now the goalkeepers might not have the highest ceiling, but I do actually prefer Crystal Palace to other teams, and Henderson's been here since the start. So that therefore leaves one option open in the midfield department, and this will be Luis Diaz. I just feel like from an expected minutes point of view, he has the highest chance of starting the most minutes, but I do also like the look of a Jota. But for the moment, Luis Diaz is kind of nailed, the more conservative midfielder pick from Liverpool, and I still back him to do quite well. Now where my head is a little bit undecided is that you guys know I love Elise in that midfield department, and even though expected minutes might not be that high, I do expect him to start both games. So therefore if I do switch the places, I could go for Alisson and Elise, but does this combination look better than Henderson and Luis Diaz? Just with the Liverpool kind of rotation, we might see Jota start, might see Gakpo start, but I still feel like Luis Diaz should be nailed for 2. A slight variation, as you guys can see on screen though, might be going for Alisson, kind of nailed to start both games, therefore going for my favorite Elise, who I do want to kind of sneak into my team. So who do you guys prefer out of these two combinations? I'm pretty sure the first option will be the most popular, but the second one is a little bit more differential. Now another situation I could actually go for is drop Alisson to someone not Henderson, such as a Pickford or a Jose Sa for example, or just bring Neto off the bench, and that frees up a Liverpool spot. Then what I can do is downgrade Diaz from Sheffield United or Luis Diaz from Liverpool, as I can't really say my expectations for Sheffield United are that high, and then move Diaz from Sheffield United to Luis Diaz from Liverpool. So once again, I could go for either the first option of Henderson as well as Luis Diaz, the second option on screen right now, Alisson and Olise, or the third option is moving Alisson to Pickford and then upgrading Diaz from Sheffield United to Luis Diaz from Liverpool. That might be slightly better. I mean, goalkeepers don't have the highest ceiling in the world. I just do like having a piece of that Sheffield United pie. But I still feel like the first option, this one that you see on screen, is probably the most nailed one. But let's see what happens come that Game Week 34 deadline. I will as always be doing a deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline. Make sure that you guys are following me over on Twitter and put the bell notifications on YouTube, as then you'll be notified when I do go live. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How are those free drafts looking if you guys have activated the chip? Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow with all those questions. But this is basically going to wrap the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like, video, and subscribe if you have subscribed yet. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the deadline stream. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.